organized by IQAC of St. Joseph College, Arts and Science. We'll start the session in few minutes. Good afternoon, Priya ma'am. We request the participants to mute your audio and video.
Very good afternoon, ma'am.
Good
Am
afternoon,
I
ma'am.
audible?
Yes, ma'am.
கேட்கல.
Session started.
Am I audible now?
Yes, ma'am, you are audible.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, dear participants, distinguished guests, faculty members. Learning gives creativity, creativity leads to thinking, thinking provides knowledge, knowledge makes you great. With this quote of Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, I welcome you all for the second day of the International Faculty Development Program on Empowerment in Education, organized by the Internal Quality Assurance Cell of St. Joseph's College. Before anything else, let us invoke the presence of Lord Almighty. May I now invite Mrs. Christina Head Department of Business Administration to begin the session with a prayer.
In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Dear Almighty and ever loving God, we glorify and thank your name. You have showered us with so much blessing, and your presence continuously reminds us of your faithfulness and guidance. May we humble ask you to shower our speaker, Dr. Batmaja Priyadashini, our greatest inspiration, so that she may share the most of his knowledge, his field of expertise, and to his respective topics. May we also observe the invaluable knowledge, experience, and put it into your practices that we may learn today. Your infinite blessing would mean the success of this FTP program. We ask this prayer in the name of the Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. Amen.
Thank you, ma'am. May I now request Mrs. Fabiola Dani, Assistant Professor, TG Department of Computer Application, to welcome the participants and introduce the chief guest.
Good morning to one and all present here. With the blessings of God the Almighty and Founder Father Reverend Dr. J.E. Arulraj, guidance of our Principal Dr. R. Ruben, and motivation of our Administrator Reverend Sister M. Baby, we welcome you all for the second day of 5 days International FTP on Empowerment in Education, organized by Internal Quality Assurance Cell of St. Joseph's College, Arts and Science. The aim of organizing this 5 days FTP series is to develop a strong reputation for excellence in the professional development of our faculty fraternities. We felt gratitude in welcoming our eminent resource person, Dr. Batpaja Priyadarshini, statistician, Managing Director of Home Plan Guru Civil Consultants Private Limited, Chennai, for today's session on nuances of research article writing. She holds multiple post graduation in the fields of statistics, Hindi literature, and management, along with a Master of Philosophy in the International Business and doctorate in the field of women entrepreneurship. She has more than 25 years of experience in various sectors. She is also a consultant and corporate trainer. She finished a lot of certificate courses, won a lot of awards, especially the recent award Wonder Women Award 2023. She has co-authored the book titled International Economics along with Professor Paul Krugman of City University of New York and Professor Mark J. Merritt of Harvard University, published by Pearson India. She also bagged several medals in Chennai District Masters Athletic Meet. We are happy to have you, ma'am. A special welcome to our dignified faculty members of our college and other colleges across the country. Once again, I welcome you all for the second day of International FTP program.
Thank you, ma'am, for the warm welcome. Now I invite the respected principal, Dr. R. Ruben, to address the participants.
Very good afternoon, all the participants. And today, speaker, Dr. Padmaja Priyadarshini, Managing Director, Home Plan Guru Civil Consultant Private Limited, Chennai, and all other faculty members of IQSC and St. Joseph's College Arts and Science. I wish the success of all the 5 days International Faculty Development Program. And I thank all the speakers. The first day it started with Dr. Pushpa, Professor, School of Software Engineering, East China University of Technology, China, and a wonderful speaker today, Dr. Padmaja Priyadarshini. The session today, very interesting, of research article writing. And the forthcoming 3 days with Dr. Preeta S., Professor, MBA Department, Director, Human Research Development Center, Vistas. And fourth day, Dr. Jagbir Singh Kadyan, Assistant Professor, Sriram College of Commerce, New Delhi. And final day with artificial intelligence, Mr. Vijaya Selvaraj, Senior Technical Architect, Riyadh, Saudi. And I wish the internal quality assurance cell to do more the programs like this to enrich the faculties and the students community knowledge in the field of teaching, especially in the area of computer science. So thank you, and we expect more participants to enrich your knowledge towards the today's paper. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. May I now request Dr. Fatmanda Priyadashmi, the speaker of the day, to take over the session.
A warm good afternoon to one and all present here. It's my pleasure and my privilege to be one of the resource person for this 5-day sessions. And without taking much time, let me start the session because the agenda of the program is today is how to write a research article. So that is the core thing. So let me try to give as much inputs as possible so that it will be helpful to the teaching fraternity. So the topic given is nuances of research article writing. The very purpose of this session today is what happens is especially when we are in the teaching fraternity, we need more publications, and when we try to sit and write a research article, most of the time we are not able to complete, either we are not able to complete the article which we take because of lack of time and we are doing multiple things, or else we are not able to match it to the Scopus or Web of Science. So the aim of the session today is we need to understand where we lack and how to take it forward to start to make an article in a very professional way. So the inputs what I would prefer here to give is it should help you to take it forward to sit get motivated, write a Scopus article and get it through at any with any Scopus related journal. So even before, like, let me assume that even though we have learned a lot, for some time let us try to unlearn and learn things new in a new way, in a novel way, how to write a research article. So first thing, when we want to do a research, very first thing whatever a researcher we do is we need to start to find out the area of research. So which area is our expertise. So here what I would suggest is we without our knowledge we'll be passionate about something. So our passion drives us forward. So when we take the topic which is very close to our heart, we will never get tired, and it will make us to improve our inquisitiveness. So I would suggest the very first thing you want to start to write a research article, the first thing I would request is take an area of research which is very close to you and which can give a problem definition. And with that, we'll have to understand when we take something which is close to our heart. For example, for me, women entrepreneurship is close to my heart. So when I started understanding what are the problems for women entrepreneurs, so that is my inquisitive question. I keep asking this question to myself. So with that, when I wanted to start writing an article, so I will first dig the previous research. I'll try to take some brief history. From there, I will let me understand what is missing in the previous research. That will help me to take it forward to the hypothesis or research question. So now, assuming we want to write a research article, so first thing is we should not start with introduction. Many people, what we do, the mistake is we start writing introduction. The problem with the introduction is we will try to write the article, but it will be in the difference between introduction and review of literature is introduction will be like an essay. So when we start writing, we will not get confidence, or we will not feel satisfied. How much ever we write, we will not be feeling satisfied. So I would request we will not start any article with introduction. So first thing, when we want to write a research article, once we have found out our area of research, what is the topic we are going to do, first thing is we should go to Google Scholar, try to download as many articles as possible, preferably Scopus, Elsevier, whatever latest quality good quality the articles from good quality journals. And once we download these articles, we'll be able to understand. The problem is when we write introduction without even gaining a depth about the topic, we cannot start writing the introduction part. We need more understanding about the topic. So that is the reason I would request start with literature review. So when we download articles and when we keep reading the articles again and again, maybe 3 or 4 times, of course, even after reading 10 times, we'll not be having that expertise what is there in that article. But still, when we download and when we start reading the article, we will gain some few terminologies which are spoken about that topic, and key terms, keywords, these things we will be gaining some insights about the topic. So first thing is in the literature review, how to write a literature review. So here I have divided the whole research article writing into components. So for the first component is literature review. It should give a description of the publication, and also it should give a summary about the main points of that article, and also it should discuss about 1 or 2 gaps in that article. It should also evaluate the publication's contribution. What is that the study is trying to contribute to the topic? So in a nutshell, if you take one review of literature, let us take an easy example of online buying behavior of Gen Z respondents towards electronic gadgets. These days, all these Gen Z people are more obsessed with booking through Amazon or through Flipkart. They don't, maybe they are too busy to go to a shop and buy. They don't really prefer touch and feel. So they want to buy everything through online. So let us assume that we are taking a topic of online buying behavior of Gen Z with respect to electronic gadgets. So when we take that, when we Google that, Google Scholar, download an article, we have to write this in every literature review in form of this. So a brief description about the publication. Maybe Gregmer et al. 2023 studied about that. We'll inform about the publication. Then few points, 2 or 3 important points about that. What is the article trying to convey, and if possible, 1 line about the research gap, and finally what is the contribution or what is the finding. So 1 line about the description, 2 lines about summary, and 1 line about the gap, and 1 or 2 lines about the contribution. So this will make a beautiful simple para. So when we try to bring out all the complicated things into a simple steps, when we break it into simple steps, the things will be so easy. So this is the basic component of a literature review. Like this, for a research article, from 7 or 8 important key articles related to the topic will do. So what is the need of review of literature? First thing is the researcher will understand what is happening in that area of the research. First thing, because only when I try to understand, I'll be able to put it on papers, put it in my writing. So it will help, and it will also help us to establish the importance of the topic and justify what is really required. And also the background, how did it all evolve, how did it happen, and it will also help us to get up-to-date research in the topic, both internationally and regionally. So this will help as a chain of research. So what has already happened and what is the gap, it will also help us to identify the research gap. So the importance of review of literature is, we instead of reinventing the wheel, we'll try to find out where is the gap. Only when we know what is already done in this study in this area, we'll be able to establish more. Now, how to write step by step. First, we will define the goal. Then we will do the research. Then we will put the ground summary in relevance, and we will develop the review in a logical way. And also we will include the references. Here, logical way, if I want to mention logical way, let us take another interesting example. Same example, slightly in an extended way. I want to study the impact of artificial intelligence in online buying behavior, because when people are trying to buy through online, these all the websites are using AI platforms to make us, to trigger us, to make us impulsively to buy. Sometimes psychologically we get so impulsive, we almost go to book the product through online, but maybe due to some reasons, maybe due to some self-discipline, or due to some personal reasons, we stop, or many times we just go and buy even without our knowledge, we buy it. So here when we want to develop the topic, impact of artificial intelligence on online buying behavior of Gen Z. Here, I can develop the review in a logical way. One is I can talk about Gen Z respondents, we can talk about online shopping behavior, then we can talk about AI driven factors, then we can connect impact of AI. So, this gives a beautiful logic. So, how to define a goal? We will create a statement first with a clear position what is really required. Here, at the beginning of any research paper, we will define the purpose of the research. Then only we will be able to understand the literature review, where to place that, in which point of view. Then doing the research, we will take number of texts, number of articles, and we will start talking about the topic and position, and what are the contents about the relevant scholars who have written. And also we will try to understand sometimes what happens, one or two or three authors will be talking in different perspective about the same topic. When we google same author in different articles, they would have mentioned the same thing. So we will be able to figure out the most important pertinent publications by those scholars. So we'll be able to understand, okay, this topic only this guy is an authority. We'll be able to understand. For that, we need to read a lot. Then the ground summary. Now we'll try to understand, okay, what is there in this research. Many topics, many authors have already spoken about these topics, but what is common all about all these authors, and what is the novelty they have added, and what is a statement of problem they are trying to solve. We'll be able to understand a ground summary which is relevant to our topic. Then we will start develop the review in a logical way. As I mentioned earlier, we will have it as an argument, and what were the earliest ideas. We'll have a proper logic in a proper chronological order. We will try to evolve, grow and evolve all these academic conversation in a proper publication way. Here the important thing is, first thing first, so there are two ways of writing this. One is chronologically from descending order. If for example the same, if I want to, let me give another different example. I want to understand the psychological skills required for para athletes, because being an athlete is not easy, especially para athletes. They have their own, they are very strong, mentally very strong. So if I want to develop an assessment tool to measure their psychological skills, then I will try to make it like from 2024 we can, there are two ways of writing this review of literature. One is chronologically arrange it in descending order, so from 2024 going in a descending order, or making it in form of the factors, dividing the factors, trying to find out the key factors and sorting out the review of literature in the form of the factors. Of course, we need to definitely include the references and the citation for each and every entry. Many times I see in many articles when I get it, when I get them for review, there is no mention about the authors who have been referred inside the article. There is no reference in the references column. There is, the author's details are not there, or some references are there in the last page, but those references are not really used. So there is a huge gap between that. So when we start writing a review of literature itself, we should try to find out the citations parallelly. The problem is when we sit and write the article, we are in a rush to write the article, so we ignore the references part. But later when we want to add the references part, when we go and search, it is literally like searching something in our house. We'll be in the Google, we'll be trying to search the article, but we unfortunately will not get it. So when we write the article, then and there, when we pick a Google scholars article, immediately take the citation, copy it in APA style and keep it. It will help us. So we'll follow which style is required for our course of requirement. Now the important thing of review of literature is the length and depth of the literature will depend upon the length of the project. And when we want to write a 10-page article, definitely at least 5 to 6, 7 or 8 will make us feel good about the total article. It will give a proper quality to the article. The reason why I am insisting more about review of literature and starting the concept itself with review of literature is that is the base. Because when we understand the review of literature, first thing is we will gain more insights about the topic. Second thing is, we'll be able to figure out the factors related to the study. From there on, we can take it as an empirical way. So that is the important thing. Review of literature is important for any article. Now, purpose of literature is to understand where we stand and how do we take the thing forward. And also the reader, when the reader is reading the article, if he wants to understand more insights, when the previous discussions are all mentioned by the reviewer, it will be easy for the reader to understand and gain more insights about the topic. In short, literature review will take care of the readers and the reviewer who is entering into the academic conversation to understand, to gain more knowledge about the topic from the scholar's perspective. Now, as I mentioned earlier, even after reading an article for more than 5 or 6 or 7 times, we don't have a proper gist about. We are not able to tell what was there in that research article, what is the finding, what is the gap. We are not able to remember and recollect. For that, this is a easy method. So we can make first, when we collect the Google Scholar articles, we can make it in form of a table. So we'll pick and put the name of the author. Then we will try to take the citation, because later in the references section, when we try, we don't get. So citation according to APA style for our social sciences, for medical it is Vancouver style. So we can take the citation in the APA style and then write 1 or 2 important keywords about the publication. Then what are the statistical tools used, and what are the dependent variable. If possible, this will give more depth to the literature review. Independent variables and dependent variables, and also the results. If we try to make this, we can easily evade plagiarism. That is one advantage. Second advantage is it will help us to make the whole review of literature on our own sentences, which gives us more satisfaction, and also we'll be able to understand what is there in the research article. So this is a best way to start writing review of literature. So first, when we want to write an article, go to Google Scholar, download few articles. From there, prepare a table format of literature review. After this, just developing this, Lena James et al. 2012 studied about the employee retention strategies. The study used factor analysis and regression and correlation and ANOVA. The study also had dependent variable as employee turnover, whereas the independent variables which affected were welfare benefits, personal satisfaction, and organizational culture. The study found out, we can write 2 lines. So a beautiful review of literature is ready without having even 1% of plagiarism, without using AI content. Now slowly, once review of literature is ready, we will move on to research questions. So what is a research question? We are going to, based on the review of literature, we have identified some gap. So to make the gap, to announce the gap, we will ask some questions. So it is centered towards the research. And how should a research question be? First thing is, it should have clarity, it should be focused, it should have a conciseness, it should not be simple, it should be slightly complex, and also it should be arguable. There should be some argument, there should be a scope for argument to happen for a research question. And why is it important for any research process? It will help, first thing is, it will help the writer not to deviate from the path of the research. So it will help the researcher to focus on the pathway, to take a straight path, direct way to finish the article, to write in a successful way. And also, the research question is more specific. That specificity will help the writers to avoid not to beat around the bush or make vague statements. If we make clear-cut research questions, it will help the researcher to focus on the path of the research. Okay, how to develop a research question? First is, we'll choose an interesting general topic. We will do a preliminary research. Then we will consider our audience. We will start asking questions. And once we start asking questions, we will evaluate the questions. From there, our research journey starts. These are all sample research questions. When we choose the general topic, and when we are done with our review of literature, we should start asking questions with the review of literature. Let me take the previous example: impact of artificial intelligence on the buying behavior of Gen Z respondents towards electronic gadgets. Here, what can be the research question I ask? I can say, what are the AI-driven factors which makes the Gen Z being impulsive to buy things through online? We can ask a question. So we should ask a question, and also it should get evaluated, and from there the research can take it forward. So a research question should be very clear. This is a simple example. If it is not clear, how it would look? How should social networking sites address the harm they cause? Here, no idea which social networking site, what is the harm they are talking, to whom they are talking, what is the harm, and to which group the harm is being created. If you want to make it in a clear way, we can frame the question like this: what action should social networking sites like Facebook and Instagram take to protect users' personal information and privacy? Here things are very clear. We are talking about which social networking site, we are talking about what are the problems, what are the harms they are trying to create. So this unclear version did not specify what are the details. It didn't give, we didn't gain more depth. And also it was not clear what is the harm. But the clear version gave everything, added clarity to the whole statement. And always, when the research question is strong, it will not give any ambiguity, it will not give any confusion or assumption. So a research question should give the researcher or the reader a proper picture of what they want to really do. Some more sample research questions. If it is unfocused, what is the effect of environment from global warming? So here the question is again not clear. Effect on the environment from global warming. So what is the effect they are talking about? Which area? So what is the environment hazard? So a lot of research questions is triggering us to ask more questions. So a proper research question should not trigger us to ask more questions. So when the question is refined into a focused way, the question is, what is the most significant effect of glacial melting on the lives of penguin in Antarctica? Here, the same question, when it is focused, it is giving more importance about what is the environmental problem, and who are getting affected, what is on whom the effect is being spoken. Simple. If the questions are so simple, how are doctors addressing diabetes in India? This is a simple research question, and you can get multiple answers easily without even doing a research. If you make it slightly complex, what main environmental, behavioral, and genetic factors predict whether Indians will develop diabetes, and how can these commonalities be used to aid the medical community in preventing the disease? So the same question is slightly modified. So it gives more clarity. It is also complex. A simple research question should not be simple. It should be complex. So the unfocused research question is so broad. It will not be able to give an unfocused question cannot give a simple write up. It needs more pages and pages to give the answer. But a focused question will give very simple answer. So a research question should be narrow and it should be focused as well. One simple thing is, if you try to, like, if you make it complex, the same doctor question, if it is simple, it can be, the answers can be found out through easy factual sentences. So there is no need for analysis. If the sentence is made complex, we need more reviews, we need to investigate further, and we need some evaluation. So a simple thumb rule of framing a research question is, you should not get the answer through Google. If you Google the question, you should not get the answer. So that much complicated the research question should be. If things are easy and simple, it doesn't have its value, no. So the first part of writing a research article, review of literature. So when we write review of literature, we make it in a table format. From there on, we can develop. So it will help us to gain more insights. Soon after the review of literature, we jump into research question. So the way how we formulate research question should be clear, should be concise, should be easy also, and it should be complex at the same time. It should be focused and complex also. And important thing is you should not get the answer for the research question from Google or ChatGPT. Now, the third component. First component was review of literature. Second component was the research question. Third component directly going to the statement of problem. Now, this is a slightly tricky and dry place to work because the researcher first should know what is really his problem to which has triggered him to do this research. So, the statement of problem here it helps the total outline of what is the problem under study, and the statement of problem usually briefly addresses the question what is the problem about and what is the research also about, and the goals what are the goals of the statement of problem. The important goal of a statement of problem is to transform a general problem into a structured, into a targeted, into a well defined problem. And it should also be when through a proper research the statement of the problem can be updated, the problem can be solved through a focused research and also through careful decision making. Writing the statement of problem will help us to clearly get the purpose of the research. Why do we really need the research? So the purpose of the research is taken care by first defining the problem. And also statement of problem will always help us in the introductory session, in our final article, as per the reader's attention. So when there is, imagine, again, let me give another different example, microfinance. Microfinance are usually taken, the beneficiaries of microfinance are not big people, big business people, all small people, all small below poverty line, low standard of living. These people, they when they really aspire to do business, they take the help of microfinance institutions. The very purpose why they go with microfinance institutions is they are not eligible to get a bank loan. For getting a bank loan, first thing is we need the crisis rating, then we need 3 years balance sheet, and we need to show some collateral in most of the cases at least. So with so many problems, all these small business people, micro level business people, they cannot afford to go to a bank to get a loan. Even if they go with through lots of rules and regulations, they get rejected. Bank people will be chasing to give loan to big shots but not to small business people. So these SMEs, microfinance institutions are ready to give the offer loan to them, of course with a higher rate of interest. And these people also, they don't mind if they get a loan, they're ready to sustain their business. So here, if I want to define the statement of problem, I can say what are the credit plus services microfinance institutions are doing to take care of the economic and social satisfaction of these microfinance beneficiaries. So that can be a simple problem statement. So I can make it as a research question and that can be refined as a problem statement. So it need not be long or elaborate. A statement of problem need not be long or elaborate. For a research article, it can be half page or some more say 1 page. And it should have a proper things in proper place. And the important why what is the need of a statement of problem, it should address the gap in the knowledge, and also it should explain the significance of the existing body of the literature, of the research. What are we trying to do and what is the problem we are trying to solve through this research? So that is important for writing a statement of problem. And it should also lead us, take us for the further research. And the problem, it should itself help to take it forward for data collection. So when I try to define the statement of problem, it should trigger me to go forward to frame a questionnaire and collect the data. And it should also be giving an interest to the researcher to suit their skills, time and resource, everything. So the statement of problem should be defined in such a way that it will help the researcher to navigate the ship in a forward way. And the approach here towards solving the problem should be ethical also. So these are all important characteristics of statement of problem. Okay, now how do I write a statement of problem? Always a statement of problem needs three parts. It has three parts. One is the ideal part, the second one is the reality part, and the third one is the consequence part. So we have to remember three parts. This is the reality, this is the ideal situation, but this is the reality. So in this reality, this will be the consequence. We should try to touch all these three parts. So the persuasive statement usually is reserved in three parts. First part is part A, ideal. Here it will describe the desired goal, what is really ideal for the situation, and how things should be in proper place for that scenario. So that will explain about the part A. Part B is the reality. So here describing the condition that prevents the goal, the state, or like from the part A, if that is the ideal situation, what is the reality? Over the time, what happens? What is the current situation? Whether it is short of the goal or is it really matching the ideal thing? So that is the reality. Part C is the consequence. It will help us to identify the way how we propose to improve. So if this is the scenario, this is the ideal scenario, but this is the current scenario. If the current scenario is taken forward in the same way, this will be the consequence. If the current scenario is modified, if some actions are taken, then the situation might improve. So that is the facts of the the statement of problem. So the simple example of statement of problem. First statement, the Ministry of Youth is dedicated to allocating enterprise development funds to both the youth and women. Here, the funds are made available for starting entrepreneurial ventures and also to create employment. So, how we will also provide some statistics and some quotes here. So, second statement. So here the main focus of the ministry is consistency. So unfortunately, the consistency in allocating funds for next generation entrepreneurs is not easy because they need prior knowledge. The government will sanction loans. The government will give funds to startups based on not their experience. They will see whether these people are really capable enough or not. So based on the previous knowledge, previous allocations and established practices. So the current continuous disbursement method is not allowing to properly disperse. So we need some method. So that is a proper statement of problem. So in a nutshell, the ministry wants to define, they have decided to give loans, they have decided to fund the startups. So in what way they want to fund? That is the simple statement of problem. So the components so far we had a quick review of literature, followed by research questions, followed by statement of problem. These three things we have seen. Once, when we have got well versed in the review of literature, we would have, even without our knowledge, we would have been handling few words. So those are the keywords or the factors, or more statistically we can say constructs. So when we are repeatedly listening to few words, they become the construct, and with that we can properly conceive a model by ourselves. So we can develop a conceptual model. These are all few examples of simple conceptual model. So organizational performance, it is depending on organizational culture, job satisfaction, training and development, stress, and other HR factors. So a simple conceptual model. How can I devise a conceptual model? When we are working on more on the review of literature, we'll be able to gain more knowledge. Repeatedly, we'll be listening to few words, and in the table format, when we pick and put the dependent variables and independent variables, automatically we'll be able to quickly grab some words, and with those words we can, with our logic, we can devise whether this is dependent or this is independent, and we can try to connect them together. One more example of conceptual model, an organizational sustainability. So when can an organization sustain in a long run? When it is performing well. So organizational sustainability is depending on organizational performance. Okay. So when can an organization perform well? Only when the employee productivity is high. So when can an employee be productive? When there is a talent acquisition, when there is a talent retention, when there is learning and development, when the career management is happening and the performance management is there. So these five independent factors focus on organizational performance, which is a mediating factor that gives organizational sustainability, which is the final dependent factor. So this conceptual model can be easily designed when we keep reading more review of literature, more articles, and when we put all the keywords in our review of literature. A easy way to draw a conceptual model is pick all these keywords, factors, then try to have a logic which is dependent, which can be independent. So try to connect them in a drawing way. So that will help us to devise our own conceptual model. The more and more we break our head and we devise, no, it will be like interesting and we will feel more thrilling. This is one more conceptual model. Characteristics and demographics of women entrepreneurs will give motivation. Motivation also happens through push factor and pull factor. And when the woman is getting motivated, she starts her own enterprise. Of course, when she starts, she faces lots of problems. In spite of the problem, she gets a success and sustainability factors are there. With that, she also goes for a future plan. One more model. This is based on TAM model. So all external variables, age, self-efficacy, job satisfaction, management support, training, stress, all these things gives perceived use of e-recruitment as well as perceived usefulness of e-recruitment. These contribute to the attitude towards using e-recruitment, and finally e-recruitment is implemented. Now moving on to the next component. So far the components we saw quickly: review of literature, then the statement of problem, research questions, statement of problem, conceptual model. Now we are moving on to the objectives. Objectives of the study are important because that is the captain of the ship. So it will take us in a proper way. So research objectives, usually it is mentioned in lay terms, and also it can be taken forward by the researcher to link the hypothesis and the statement of problem together. And even if the nature of research has not been very clear from the hypothesis, with the objectives, if the statement of problem is confusing, if the hypothesis is confusing, if the research objectives are easy and simple, anybody can understand. So a statement of research objective, it will guide us to take care of the activity of the research. Let us take some example. To describe what factors farmers take into account in making such decisions as whether to adopt a new technology or what crops to grow. So this is a simple objective. So a farmer needs guidance. What can be the technology to be adopted to make optimal yield, and what crops to grow at what season. Also, one more objective: to develop a budget for reducing pollution by a particular enterprise. One more objective: to describe the habitat of the giant panda of China. These are all simple objectives, research objectives. So here we can understand, first thing is the research is descriptive. And in the first example, we can see we are talking, the research is talking about the ability of to specify the factors which helps in the household decisions. And the second, the results will be more about the pollution reduction of budget. And the third one, it is all about creating a picture of the habitat of the giant panda. So the objectives are very crystal clear. They prompt the researchers to formulate. The research objective should be in such a way that hypothesis, it can directly take it forward for hypothesis, and from there the aim of the research will become, we will start exploring more. So when we formulate the objectives of the study, we will start thinking. It will make us, trigger us to think more, make some assumptions, hypothesis, then try to prove the assumptions right or wrong through empirical study. So it will take us forward to bring the data analysis part. How to develop a hypothesis, the next format. Hypothesis, it is a statement. It will again add value to the research question, and also it will help to find out the expected result. So it is an integral part in every scientific method, especially in scientific experiments. So we need objective and hypothesis. Why do we need objective in the research? We need objective to focus on the study, to clearly identify what are the variables to be measured, and also to have the various steps to be involved, and also to understand the limitations of the study, and also to avoid collection of data which is not really required. So when we have proper objectives, our hypothesis will be very clear. So we will not go beyond that. So how to formulate an effective hypothesis? It should not be a simple statement, and it should have some intricacy, and it should also give introduction for a proper intentions should be clear. We are going to assume something and we are going to prove or disprove that. Here important points is we are trying to solve the statement whatever problem we defined earlier, and here we try to write hypothesis as if then statement, and then we define the variables. What is the problem we are trying to solve? We'll make sure that the hypothesis will clearly explain the topic and also the focus. And how do we write it in the if then format? We'll follow a specific template. Always, if this happens, then this happens. So, is not gender has influence on the AI driven factors. Then, age has influence. So, this has an impact on this. We will have an if and then defining the variables. In the scientific experiments, usually hypotheses will have strictly few independent variables and a few one or more dependent variable. So we need to define the variables appropriately. And also the effect of the dependent variable from the independent variable. To what extent the independent variables are disturbing the dependent variable. That is made clear through hypothesis. An example of hypothesis: great number of coal plants in the region increases water pollution. So the number of coal plants is independent variable. That is the effect of number of coal plants is there on water pollution. So here we have an independent variable, we have a dependent variable. When we try to change the independent variable, the dependent variable also gets changed. So if we add or more coal factories, water pollution will also increase. Here we want to ask few questions. When we put the hypothesis, is it very clear and is it focused? Is it talking about the research? And whether the hypothesis, both independent and dependent, are they easy for us to understand and identify? And also whether the hypothesis can be tested. And finally, like what is that we try to expect from the hypothesis? So these are all important things for hypothesis. So far we saw when we want to start writing a research, first thing is review of literature. We can make it in the table format, then write it on our own with the help of the table. Then after that we will make research questions. Research questions should not be so simple, it should be complex and it should be more concise and focused. After the research question, we go to statement of problem. Our statement of problem should be very clear. We should try to explain what is the research we are trying to do and what is the problem in the research, what is the major problem and what is the research is trying to, in what way it is trying to help. Then comes the research objective. So conceptual model. Based on this, we design the conceptual model, including the factors which we have culled out from the review of literature. After the conceptual model, we go to the objectives of the study. We make clear-cut objectives of the study because that will be the steering, act as a steering to the whole research. From there on, a research will get triggered to the hypothesis, which will trigger for data analysis. So from there on, there is no stop. So we will go with the objectives of the study. Once the objectives of the study is done, we go to the hypothesis. So once the hypothesis is done, we will start thinking about the data collection part. So when the objectives and hypotheses are made hand in hand, analysis with the questionnaire is properly prepared, and we will prepare a proper analysis plan. So this is even for thesis, I would suggest for every research scholar to make an analysis plan template like this. So what are the objectives? What are the hypotheses? For which objective, which is the hypothesis we have framed, and what are the statistical tools, and whether the outcome, what can be the outcome. So when we properly make an appropriate statistical analysis plan for the data, our article will be elevated to the next level. It can be easily accepted through any scopus because we are having proper clarity what we are trying to do. Now, after finding out all the finished data analysis, presentation is very important. It is not what we communicate, it is always how we communicate. In a thesis, it's okay, we can write pages and pages of analysis, but to present data in a small nutshell, in an article, in a 10-page article, fitting it is very difficult. So this is a medical article. It was very, very impressive for me. So almost all the data analysis have been put it in simply in one page. So all the things have been added in one page. So we can present in presenting a data in an article is not easy. Another example, there are three different perspective: administrators, nurses, and doctors. So all the variables have been explained in all three. So many analysis, like they have done pages and pages, but everything has been brought in a nutshell in a small set of table. Now moving on to the findings. So once the quickly review of literature, after that from review of literature we go with the with the research of, statement of problem with the research questions, then statement of problem, then we go with the conceptual model, then we go with objectives, then hypothesis, then data analysis. Then when we come to findings, this is more important. In a research article we can make it objective wise. In some articles they make it tool wise, analysis tool wise, maybe findings to for independent sample t-test, findings for one way ANOVA. But when we make it objective wise, it has its own enrichment. The article is so enriched. And important part is to write a discussion. This many of researchers we fail to do that. Many articles get rejected in Scopus because the discussion, either discussion is missing or it is not in proper format. So how to write a discussion? So we have to, first thing is there, for writing a proper discussion in thesis many of us need not write discussion, but in article discussion is important. The thing is, the very important purpose of writing a research discussion is to compare the previous studies with our study, the results of the previous study with our study. So here we will restate the research objectives, we will put the major findings, interpret the results, then we will slowly compare. In our study, the AI driven factors have not been met. Unlike the previous study, our study did not conform with the previous study, we can say. Sometimes it will be the same. Our study is in line with the previous study. So for each and every whatever review of literature articles we have mentioned, we will take that, we will try to compare both and whether our study has taken it forward or not. So we will try to use that. With that, we will also address the research questions. We will try to relate the discussion part with the theoretical framework what we have assumed. Also, we will conclude with proper implications and recommendations. Here, we will restate the research objectives. We will summarize the findings. We will interpret the results. We will compare the same thing with previous research, and any discrepancy or inconsistency, we will explain why it is not so, and we will address the limitations of our study. Maybe most of the limitations will be sample size and methodology. And we will also discuss unexpected results. Sometimes our study will have unexpected or contrary findings. We will try to give justifications for that. We will discuss that also. Also, we will give alternative explanations why in our study it has happened. We will address the research questions properly in the discussion, and it will give a proper completion. We'll conclude with proper implications and recommendations. Here, no, to remember to provide a clear and logical transition, like from the data literature, we need proper discussion. Then only there is a proper transition from the review of literature, data analysis, findings. Discussion is one thing which will connect everything together. With this, I stop my presentation here, and I'm open for any questions or any clarifications. I once again thank the management of St. Joseph's College for providing me such a wonderful opportunity.
Thank you, ma'am, for sharing your knowledge with us and making us aware about the prominence of curiosity in research. Dear participants, if you have any questions or clarifications regarding the topic, you may now um, unmute your audio and you can ask your questions. Thank you. For the closing remarks, I now request Dr. O.S. Vedavalli, Coordinator at GSC, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Good afternoon. First of all, I am thankful to Almighty for giving us courage and spirit to arrange this faculty development program. A warm and graceful honor to our most valued administrator, Reverend Sister Baby, and our principal, Dr. R. Ruben, for their guidance, and all the participants of the session, both in GMeet and live streaming, for their support in connecting for this day 2 session of nuances in research article writing of our 5-day international virtual FTP. On behalf of our institution, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to our esteemed resource person, Dr. Batpaja Priyadarshini ma'am, Director, Om Plan Guru Civil Consultant. Thank you, ma'am, for an enlightening presentation on the right and simple way to write a research article. We appreciate having this important area clarified. So many applause we are getting from our participants as well. I would like to thank the program coordinator, Mr. Beske, and technical support coordinator, Mr. Arish, in this juncture. Thank you all. Participants, please fill the feedback come attendance link, which has been posted in the comment section. We'd like to have an announcement here, like our St.Joseph Arts and Science College, which is run by Sisters of DMI, is we are going to arrange a international conference on 27th March. The brochure has been already shared in our WhatsApp group. We will be sharing it too. So we are, it's the International Conference on Research for Sustainable Development. We expect journal articles from all our participants. I request all the participants and our resource person to on your video so that we'll have a photo session. Please switch on your video. We'll have the photo session. Thank you. Thank you all. Meet you all in tomorrow's session, the day 3 session of our FTP. Thank you all. Thanks for your participation. Please fill the feedback form. Thank you so much, Priya ma'am. Thanks for having you amidst your busy schedule. Thanks a lot, ma'am.
My pleasure. Thank you all. Thank you one and all for your patience listening also. Thank you, ma'am. With your permission, I'm leaving the
Yes, ma'am.
meeting.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you all the participants. We will meet in day 3 session. Thank you all. Once the feedback form has been filled, you can leave the session. Thank you all.